It's time for Fort Worth Musical Moments. Join us now as Steve Marquardt takes a look at the music and the artists who made the city's vibrant musical legacy what it is today. Hey, welcome to Fort Worth Musical Moments. I'm your host, Brent Adams, along with our co-host, Steve Marquardt. And Steve, how are you on this fine Friday, St. Patrick's Day? Oh, Steve.
I'm sorry, I'm not getting any audio.
Uh-oh.
Now I am a little bit.
There you go. Can we hear you? Where's Steve? Steve is not here. Hello. All right. Well, it wouldn't be a Friday if we weren't having some sort of technical difficulties here. Let's see. Let's remove him, get him back. Steve, where did you go? Steve.
There I am.
There he is. We're going to pretend like that never happened. We're going to keep going. How are you on this St. Patrick's Friday?
I'm fine. I'm even wearing green. Happy St. Patty's Day, everybody.
Well, I tell you what, Steve, the luck of the Irish is definitely smiling on us today here. Well, I thought it was. Maybe it's not. Maybe the leprechaun is playing tricks on us today because we're having some Steve issues here. We'll get him back here shortly. He's trying to connect.
Okay.
All right. Are you there? I was just going to say the luck of the Irish is with us because we've got Chuck with us, but we're
well,
also...
so leave it to me to find a new twist in technical difficulty. just as the show was launched.
I'm not hearing Steve at all.
Can you not hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Can Chuck hear me?
Chuck, can you hear Steve?
I can't hear Steve.
Okay.
I see him going.
Uh-oh.
Well, live TV. What do you know?
Oh, this is a great wrinkle. Everything was working fine before we pushed the button, right?
Yeah.
It was. We were having a great conversation.
Some jokes were told and everything. It was.
Tell them about the jokes.
I'm
My day wouldn't be complete if I wasn't telling jokes to somebody.
I'm going to leave the room for a second and come back in and see if that fixes the problem. You guys carry on.
Excellent. Well, in the meantime, we will carry on with things here. And Chuck, it's great to have you with us here today. We've been looking forward to this one for a long time. How have you been?
I'm wonderful, and it's my extreme pleasure to be on your show.
Well, I tell you, Chuck is the CMA of Texas Living Legend Award winner in 2023. He's penned thousands of songs and received acclaim for lots of them. And we're going to get into that today. We're going to get into his history and kind of take you a journey through Steve, through Chuck's history here. We got Steve back. Can we hear you now?
Can you hear me? Chuck?
No, Chuck says no. The answer is
Still
no.
can't hear him.
That's just really weird. I don't know how to fix it.
There's a play button showing on my screen. Am I supposed to punch that?
I don't think so. That's a new one.
It may cause my garage door.
I think Steve's putting us on. Can Steve hear me?
Yeah.
I wonder if we shouldn't just relaunch the whole show.
Right. Well, that would involve having to send out a whole new link to everybody.
No
problem with that.
We'll carry on, and I guess.
Well, at least we know it's live. It's not Memorex.
Spectator. Maybe I'll text you, Brent. Any questions I might have.
Okay. Well, I will keep my phone at the ready here in case we have any issues here. And in the meantime, we'll keep rolling on here. Chuck, I wanted to kind of get into the early days because this is something from my other side of my business here, where we talk about rural strong radio and rural strong music and tractors and troubadours. We have a heart for the great farming and ranching families of America, of which you guys are one of them. Originally from the Trinidad, Colorado area. And your folks brought you guys up on ranches, and that's a huge part of your life.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. I was very lucky. I look back on it now, and I thank God, for the upbringing that I had, where I grew up. That ranch we was on, it was 100,000 acres. That's a pretty big playground for a kid.
Yeah.
Had trees to climb, rocks to climb, creeks to swim in. Well, I mean, it was great.
Man, well, and I tell you, at that same time, you were exposed to music, particularly Western swing music.
Yes, my dad had a band even way before I was born, a Western swing band. They were real popular. They were called the Frisco Canyon Ramblers because my dad and his brothers, uh, my grandpa's ranch, the family Cusimano family ranch was in San Francisco Creek, but they called it Frisco, you know, like they do here in Frisco, Merle Haggard, you know. But he's talking about San Francisco, California. But this San Francisco Canyon or Creek in southeastern Colorado, and that's where my dad and his brothers grew up, and so they needed a name for their band, and somebody came up with Frisco Canyon Ramblers, and it caught on.
Did you have
You
a
know,
good Did you have a
go
good
ahead.
sense of who your family was listening to at the time? Who were some of your dad's inspirations, and how did that kind of rub off on you?
Well, Hank Williams, of course, but my dad liked T. Texas Tyler, and he liked Jimmy Rogers, the old Jimmy Rogers, the old blue yodeler,
Yes.
and all around the water tank, you know, and that's kind of stuff my dad grew up on. They didn't have a record player, and when they would go into town, the general store would have the newest Jimmy Rogers record, and Dad said they'd go in there and they could play it. They couldn't afford to buy it, but they could listen to it all day if they wanted to, I guess. And so he was a big Jimmy Rogers fan. And of course, when Hank Williams came out in the late '40s, that they did a lot of Hank Williams, but they did Bob Wills and they did some Spade Cooley. They just played, you know. And then later on, of course, there was artists like little Jimmy Dickens and Webb Pierce, Hank Lachlan, some of these people coming along, and the band kept up with the current country music. And I like that stuff, but the bug didn't really hit me to want to learn to play anything until 1963 when I heard Act Naturally on the radio. And I heard that Fender Telecaster. I didn't know what it was. I just knew whatever that sound is, I want to learn to do that, and I want to do it every day for the rest of my life. You know, I just loved it. It just settled in on my soul. And I've always been real partial to the West Coast sound, the Bakersfield sound, the chicken picking, but man, I like the good Western swing stuff and the mellow tones also, you know.
So was it around that time that you started taking some guitar lessons as well?
My dad showed me my dad could play fiddle, guitar, and accordion. And my Uncle Joe was in the band. He could play all three instruments, and they'd trade off back and forth. But mostly my dad stuck with the accordion. My Uncle Joe played the fiddle. And so a neighbor rancher kid down the road, we didn't even own a guitar at the time. He didn't have one in the house. And they knew my dad had quit playing by then. And the kid used to bring two guitars up there, and I'd watch my dad teach this boy how to play. And then they started leaving the guitars at our house. And of course, I was told, don't you touch them guitars. But as soon as nobody was looking, I was digging that harmony guitar out of the case and learning how to play it, and just from watching them. And then one night I just kind of gave my secret away, and I did it. Well, I guess I got away with it. I never got in trouble for it. They set their guitars down to have a little intermission. Mom made some coffee and had pie or cake or something. And I asked that boy, I said, can I pick up that guitar? And my dad said, you better leave it alone. The kid said, he can't hurt it. Go ahead. So I picked it up and I played do, doodle, do, do. My dad said, how'd you do that? I said, I've been watching you. And my dad played lead, and that boy was learning rhythm. So eventually I got worked in on the lessons, and I watched every band. If we went to a local dance, I stood in front of the guitar player and just watched him all night. And that's how I kind of pick things up.
You ever
By
think
watching.
you ever think about how special it is that you were around dances and live music at that time, and today, 2023, you're still around it, and it's been such a huge part of your life?
Oh, absolutely. I think I was 14 when I first started learning to play the guitar, and I'm 74 now. So that's 60 years. And it's an extension of my soul to be able to make music of any kind. As far as playing the guitar or just singing in the shower, whatever. And for a lot of years, I didn't want to be a singer. I didn't care anything about singing. But when I was off by myself, horseback or down the canyon hunting rabbits or something, I'd sing to myself, but I thought it sounded awful. And then when I was in the Navy, I ran into a guy from Arkansas I called him Mr. Golden Throat. Boy, his name was L. Strawn, and boy, he could sing. And he encouraged me to sing. That's the guy that I always thank him when I talk to him on the phone for encouraging me to go ahead and stretch out and try singing in front of people. And I didn't run anybody off, so I just kept it up.
What was that like, getting over those nerves and taking it from just somebody picking on the guitar in your living room to actually getting in front of people?
I really am pretty much of a clown, an extrovert. I didn't have a lot of trouble, not forcing, but allowing myself to be myself in front of people. And I still don't. I crack jokes. I have fun when I play music, but I'm serious about my music, and I don't want to be silly on the bandstand, but I'll crack a joke or pick on one of the band members or something, just for fun. And I think it helps lighten the mood. But I noticed out in California when I first started getting to be on a band, not that I was a band member, a lot of bands would let me sit in. And out there, the club owners encouraged the band members, the band leader, front man, whatever you want to call him, to kind of interact with the audience and talk. And I guess they thought that'd make them spend more money on drinks, keeping them off the dance floor. But by golly, this is Texas. We keep them on the dance floor here.
Right.
That's who I try to make happy, is the dancers. They pay their money to come through that door. I want to make them happy.
Well, and that was an interesting distinction. You talk about the Bakersfield sound and you talk about what was going on in Texas, and then you look at the music that was created in Nashville, which was more or less for sitting around and listening to. That was a big distinction, wasn't it? Because it was all about trying to get people to get out and dance.
The Nashville tried to go pop for a while, and I guess they kind of conquered it. Ray Price, Eddie Arnold, Jim Reeves, they kind of went that way with a lot of strings, maybe even horns, for backup instead of just fiddle and steel and guitar and piano. And not that I didn't like it, but I thought, don't do that. When Ray Price started recording kind of pop like that, I thought, you're abandoning me. I want to hear the Cherokee Cowboys. I want to hear Crazy Arms. I want to hear that twin, guitar and steel playing together and twin fiddles. And but I learned to like it, and I still appreciate it a lot more than I did when it was first starting out. A lot of people were saying the same thing. What's happened to Ray Price? What's he doing that for? He thinks he's Tony Bennett. Now I really appreciate Tony Bennett as well.
And there's another guy nodding his head up there in the top right corner, because another good crooner up there with you.
You bet.
Yeah,
I still can't hear him, but I can see him.
Well, and this is crazy. It's kind of compromising. So for those of y'all watching, because I'm getting feedback from other viewers saying, we can hear you, Steve. So I guess the only person that can't hear me is Chuck. But I'll ask this question, kind of shifting gears from the music to the actual writing of the song. And Chuck is such a prolific songwriter. So the first question is, how many songs do you reckon you've written since you first started writing songs. So ask him that.
Excellent. Yeah. So Steve was wanting to know how many songs throughout the course of your career you believe you've probably written.
Oh gosh, there's no way I could ever come up with a number. Ballpark numbers, more than 1,000, I'm sure. What I used to do a lot of times, and I kick myself now because I didn't follow through, I would write a song driving down the road, and I would memorize it, and I would spring it on my band that night. A lot of years I had a band, you know, a 6-night-a-week job in beer joints, honky tonks, dance halls, whatever you want to call them. And I would spring that song on the band, and I'd sing it for 2 or 3 weeks, but then I'd come up with another one. I would never write it down. And those songs are lost forever. I have people still sometimes contacting me, and they said, you know, this one lady in Lubbock, she said, you used to do a song about cowboy boots and tight Levi's or something like that. And I said, I don't remember it. That's happened to me numerous times. Sometimes a song will come back into my memory. I'll wake up in the morning and be like playing in my head like a tape recorder or something. And I had a song one night that I wrote while we were recording a bunch of songs that I had written with my band. Had the microphones hanging down in the club, you know, a left and a right, recording it on a reel-to-reel deal. And the guy that was a friend of the drummers that was operating the machinery said, can you write a song right now? And I said, probably. And so I just picked up my guitar and I started singing. And I wrote a song that night called Speaking of Cheating. And it would have fit Mel Street really, really well. And we did that song for quite a while. I did a little tweaking on it, but I had the tape to listen back to it. And I forgot about that song for years. And then running into an old compadre of mine who is deceased now, Mr. Billy Martin. Billy Martin was a bass player in my band, and at times he played guitar also with, and I had a different bass player working with us. But he went, I think, 23 years with Charlie Pride as his lead guitar player. But Billy and I were like brothers. We were very, very close. And I came here 19 years ago from Colorado to train horses and run a team roping operation. And I found out that Billy was living in the Springtown area, and we got hooked up together again. And that's one of the first things he said, you still remember Speaking of Cheating? I said, oh, shoot, no, I don't remember it. And a couple of days later, I woke up and it was playing in my head. So we started doing it again. I got it recorded. But anyway, I didn't mean to get off on a rabbit trail.
No, that's a great story.
I asked Chuck to talk about how his life is a real bona fide cowboy, because a lot of us are cowboy wannabes.
Still can't hear Steve.
But he's the real deal cowboy. Ask Chuck to talk about how that life and those experiences influence his writing.
Absolutely. So he wanted to know about the whole cowboy way, the cowboy lifestyle, and how that has influenced your writing.
I think the freedom that you experience in that kind of an occupation gives you a lot of time to think. And of course, you got the rhythm of the horse walking or along, you know, checking cattle or whatever you're doing. And it just came natural to come up. But, you know, I started writing little rhymes and lines when I was in grade school. Sometimes I'd get in trouble because I'd write them down and pass them to my buddies, and they weren't real teacher friendly. I would get in trouble with the teacher if she found the note. And I stood in the corner a few times for some of the stuff I wrote, but it just came easy to rhyme. It came easy to invent a story. I guess I'm a liar. You know, I guess you got to be a good liar. I've written songs about, you know, being a drunk or being drinking all the time, and I don't drink. I could write a song about hitchhiking, and I've never hitchhiked in my life. I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't trust anybody. And so writing a song is It is like breathing to me. It's just so easy. The hard part is getting it to an artist and getting them to actually listen to it. You got to realize, people are always saying, man, that song would, they're talking about a song that I might have that I wrote, that I have written. And they'd say, man, George Strait needs to cut that. And I said, ain't no way I can get George Strait. He's jaded from people handing him CDs, and here, his brother-in-law, his mother-in-law, I don't know who all probably had a friend somewhere, and they tried to do that. I just assume they didn't do that for me, because I don't want to put a bad taste in somebody's mouth over my name when they say, oh, another songwriter. Yeah. And the hard part is getting them to sit down and actually listen to the song and listen to what it's about. I'm a lyricist, I guess, as much as I am a musician. To me, a song needs to make sense. There needs to be a reason for writing that song. I've had people maybe hand me a piece of paper and say, here's a song I wrote. What do you think about it? And I look at it and I want to say that I'll try to be polite, but I want to look at them and say, why did you write this? It says, I love you. That's all it says. You didn't get into the story of why you love her or how long you're going to love her or anything like that. You need to expand on what you're trying to say. And I mean, that's just me.
Of all the others who have cut songs that you've written over the years, well, who are some that you're most proud of?
That's a really good question, because as a songwriter, and you give a song to somebody or let somebody, and I always let somebody record my music, but you hear it back, and sometimes it's like you gave them a ribeye steak and they cut the eye out of the rib and left it out of the song. And other times it's like you sent your kid home with your brother to live for 2 weeks, and he comes home with a different haircut. You'll get over that pretty quick, But I will say this: Billy Bowles is going to World Radio premiere a song that I wrote that was recorded recently by Anita Mackey. And I think I'm going to step out there and say that might be the best that I've heard somebody doing one of my songs in a long time. She recorded it the way I wrote it. She didn't change the words. She didn't slip in a different word. That happens to me a lot. And I want to know, or they leave a chord out that was in the song that I thought was important. They bypass something, and I think, why you do that? But I never ask them, because I don't want them to say, well, I'll never record your music again,
Right.
But Anita Mackey recorded Shuffle Back to Me, and it's been recorded by several other ladies. I'll tell you, Gina Roberts did a mighty job on it too, and so did Christy Kalin. And but Anita Mackey's cut on that thing is just, you got to hear it. Bobby Mackey, her dad, recently recorded a song I wrote called "I Said Nothing." He did a great job on it. Red Stegall recorded one of my cowboy songs called "We Were Cowboys," and he did it different than I did, but I learned to live with it. And I'm very appreciative, very honored that he recorded it. Hank Thompson recorded one of my songs, but he never got to put his vocal on it. He got sick and passed away. And I would have loved to have heard that, because I was a big Hank Thompson fan. That's another name I can add to the list that my dad, they played a lot of Hank Thompson music. That picture you're showing is Curtis Potter, who is one of the greatest singers ever, that spent a lot of his years being a sideman for Mr. Hank Thompson, front man and bass player for Hank's band. And Curtis had to be, in my estimation, one of the greatest voices of all time. If you don't believe me, just look him up. He was awesome and a great person. He was going to record one of my songs. I have a song called "Damn Demons," and Curtis was going to do that song, and I was so excited, but he just never got around to it. That's happened to me a lot.
Well, Hank's career spanned so many generations. What was it like getting to work with the guy that you had just listened to with your parents, and now here you are in that same sphere with him?
Oh, it's a great feeling. Matter of fact, I want to say this. I'm a huge Tony Booth fan. I was still in the Navy out in California, getting out of the Navy when I first started hearing Tony Booth, and I just thought he was super duper, you know. Never realizing or never knowing that someday I would be on a bandstand with him and singing harmony for him, and that's a high that you can't describe. And Tony is one of the finest people in the world. Now, he did record one of my songs. It's not released, but he recorded a song of mine. It's really good 4/4 shuffle song called I Know a Lie. And the hook is, I know a lie when you tell one. It's kind of like when her lips are moving, she's lying. You know, it's kind of on that strain. But he did a marvelous job on it. And I've kind of put my recording on hold right now because, number one, it's expensive, and they're making it. I don't know if it's the government or who's in charge of taking away CDs, but that's the stupidest move anybody could ever do. I don't know where they want to go from CDs. That's perfect. You get a CD that's affordable. It'll last for a long, long time. You also get the graphics in there. You can read the liner notes, who's playing on them, who wrote the songs, who produced it, what studio they cut it in. I like reading that while I'm listening to the CD. I don't know what they're going to do, but there's just a few venues that I play where the age of the people there still have CD players and still have an old vehicle with a CD player, and they'll actually buy my CDs. But I could go spend $1,000 and put out a new CD, and there's no way I could ever make $1,000 back off of it. I wouldn't sell enough CDs. Spotify, Apple, iTunes, all that, they're wrecking us songwriters.
Right.
I mentioned Red Steagall. He recorded that song, and I see my BMI statements where that song may be played on Spotify 2,500 times, and I'll make about 15 cents on that. And that's just plumb ridiculous. Something needs to be done about that. I'll get on my soapbox about that, because in the old days, the songwriter and the publisher, they made good money. It was worthwhile for them to keep recording good music and keeping it fresh. If they keep this up, they're going to stagnate the music, because nobody's going to want to spend money on recording when they can't get a return.
Right.
That's my sorry.
No, that's a drum we'll keep on beating here, because I think that's important to all of us.
Another thing that I'm doing that I'm going to risk some money on that I hope will work out is I've decided to be an author. And so during the 2020 pandemic, I sat at my computer when it was working, and I wrote 7 books, fictional Westerns. And I'm trying to get one of them in print. I want to put one in print and see what happens with that. Maybe that's the next avenue that I'll do to try to keep the money coming in the mailbox. But I read a lot of Louis L'Amour when I was in the Navy and after, you know, and I think I probably read every book he ever wrote. And I always liked him. I liked a lot of the other authors, Elmer Kelton and some of the other Western authors. But growing up in that lifestyle, it's easy for me to write about that. And it's real easy for me to write about the country I grew up in. Around the Santa Fe Trail came right through the ranch nearly that I grew up on, and it went over Raton Pass. I managed a ranch on Raton Pass for 6 years, and I could still find the ruts from some of the earlier trails that they would make a trail, then there'd be a big washout or something, and they'd have to move. They'd cross the river, you know, the Raton Creek, they call it. They would cross that every once in a while, you know, ford the river, and a big flood would come through there and change that. And they'd have to find a new place they could get through. And so there's a lot of ruts there that I would find horseback. and say, well, those are wagon ruts from the old Santa Fe trails, still marking history.
And that's real. And I tell you what, it's such a big influence on what you did. And as a result, as we mentioned earlier in the show, the 2023 CMA of Texas Living Legend Award. And we want to share some video from that night and some of your performance there. And Chuck, if you would, as we roll this, Steve is asking that you get out of the StreamYard program and re-enter again. We're going to see if we can fix this little audio gremlin we've got going on here while this video plays.
Okay.
So
see if I can figure out how to do that. I'm pretty dumb.
We'll get her figured out. In the meantime, we're going to roll one from Chuck Cusimano here. This happened this past October at the legendary Cactus Theater in Lubbock for the CMA of Texas Awards.
Chuck Cusimano is up next here, and we're going to get about the business of honoring him. They're getting up there to do some music, and of course, Chuck, a fixture in the Texas dance halls and honky tonks all over Dallas and Fort Worth area and other areas as well. And our next honored guest is without a doubt one of the most prolific songwriters of our era. And his life as a cowboy, and I can stop there and tell you that he's the real deal. It's not a wannabe. Well, a songwriter and a singer with hundreds of songs recorded by himself and hundreds more recorded by other award-winning musicians make him more than deserving of this award tonight. And he has graciously agreed to perform one of our most favorite ones, and this is by request for me for certain. Reason enough. Please make welcome my friend Chuck Cusimano.
Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it. It's awesome being back in Lubbock, Texas 49 years ago. This is where I started out. 3, 4, 1, 2. I've got reason enough to be happy. A happy man's got no limits to his goal. I feel like I climb the highest mountain in the rain and the sleet and the wind and the heat and the cold. I feel big enough to say I love you, small enough to say I need you, proud enough to tell you I want you, sure enough to know I always will. Never dreamed that I would find a treasure. It happens once in a million years to a man like me. And now I find my whole life's filled with pleasure. You're the woman that made it happen to me. And I feel big enough to say I love you, small enough to say I need you, proud enough to tell you I want you, sure enough to know I always will. Sure enough to know I always will.
Making that Fender Telecaster sing here. Great stuff.
Thank you. I love a Fender Telecaster.
Well, I tell you what, that whole sound was so, kind of throwback to the whole Bakersfield sound. I want to kind of circle back around to something earlier. You were talking about your time in the Navy, and it was while you were there that you became acquainted with the Foothills Club in Long Beach, and also the influence of Billy Mize, who is coming into his own as a result of the Bakersfield sound. Tell us a bit about that whole time period.
Yes, sir. I kept hearing about the Foothills Club, and it was quite a ways from the Navy base or downtown where the sailors hung out. And there was a couple of clubs there, the Hollywood on the Pike, Evelyn's Panama Room. I went in those places and sat in with the bands after I turned 21. And before that, I had to stand outside and listen to them. But I finally took a long walk, and I found the Foothills Club. And I had to wait around quite a while before the band started playing. And so they got up there and they did a set, and I heard Billy Mize and his wonderful band, and I really enjoyed them. And they took a break. And this is the kind of man that Billy Mize was. I walked up to him. He didn't know me from anybody. And I was dressed about like I am now, cowboy hat, cowboy, that's me. I was doing this way before George Strait ever did it. And I walked up to him and introduced myself. And I said, "Do you ever let anybody get up and sing with your band?" He said, "If I did, what would you sing?" And I said, "Well, I'd like to sing this song that I wrote." And he said, "I want to hear your song." And he took his guitar off the stage, and we went around to the back to I guess it was an old kitchen that they weren't using anymore, a little ways away from the hubbub and the noise in the club and the jukebox and everything, while the band was on break. And I started singing this song, and I got about halfway through it, and he said, "My band can follow that. Yeah, you get up and do that song." And I said, "Okay." So I got up there. When he called me, they went back to work. He called me up on stage, handed me his guitar, and I sang that song, and the band followed me just like they'd heard it all their life. It was a real easy song. And I started to get off the bandstand, and he was standing right there. He said, "Do another one." Now this is almost an embarrassing moment for me, but I've been listening to these Merle Haggard 8-track tapes. They don't put the information on the 8-track tapes of who wrote songs and who played instruments on them. There's no way of knowing all that stuff. They didn't have room to print all that. And so I turned to the band and I said, "Do y'all know a Merle Haggard song called Who'll Buy the Wine?" And they started laughing. Well, it kind of hurt my feelings and kind of made me mad, because I thought they were making fun of the song, and I really liked that song. And I said, "Well, I think it's a good song." And they said, "Oh, yeah, we know the song. What key you going to do it in?" I said, "G." So they kicked it off a little different than the way Merle Haggard had done it, where I learned it that way. But I came in and I sang the song. And when I got done, Billy Mize walked up on stage, and I handed him the guitar, and the drummer said, "Hey." I turned around, he said, "Billy wrote that song." Billy Mize wrote Who'll Buy the Wine, and I had no idea. But he took it as a compliment.
So at the same time, this is the same time frame that he is also giving validation to Merle Haggard and spending time with him. That had to feel pretty good, knowing that that you were getting validation from the same guy who was also giving that validation to Merle Haggard.
Yes, I asked him questions about Merle, because Merle played in his band for a short time, and he had pictures on the wall, of course, in the bar, that of him and Merle Haggard together. And of course, Billy was, I didn't realize how doggone popular Billy was out there. He had a TV show and had Merle Haggard on there as a guest before anybody knew who Merle Haggard was. But he knew Merle and believed in him a lot and encouraged him too. So I feel connected with Merle in that sense. I never really met Merle. I did. I shook his hand twice, I think, but it wasn't like I wanted to sit down one-on-one with Haggard and just sit there, not even talk about music. And I have a song on my influence, Under the Influence of Merle. I have a song on there I wrote, and it's just titled Merle, and it just says, I wished I could sit and talk to you. We wouldn't have to talk about music. You wouldn't have to know how much you influenced me. I'd just like to visit with you. And it never happened.
Hey, Steve, can you hear us?
Yeah, Chuck, can you hear me?
I can hear Steve. Hi, Steve.
There we go. Steve,
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
I felt like a stepchild out here.
Steve,
I took my green off. Nobody can pinch me here.
Steve gets a gold star for technical troubleshooting today here.
Well, if all else fails, just reboot, right? So yeah, I've enjoyed so far. But Chuck, I got a question for you.
Okay.
You've been in this business a long time. You have definitely got the chops, written great songs, got great voice. You're the whole package. Did you ever get to a point, maybe retrospectively thinking, where you could have really, climbed to the top of the ladder and been not that you're not a star in my, but a bit, you know what I'm talking about. But you knew that in doing so you might compromise yourself, or maybe, as they say, sell your soul, that backed away. Can you ever name or pinpoint a time in your career where that happened?
I turned down several opportunities, and I did it out of loyalty, and it kind of hurts. I mean, it stung, Gene Watson, one time when I had a band in Lubbock there at the Red Raider, I had the house band there. We had a monstrous band, and Gene Watson came in, and him and I had been friends quite a bit because me and my band, a different band in a different club, used to back him up when he first had Love in the Hot Afternoon, and he would come to Lubbock as a single, and we would back him up, and we became good friends and stayed friends through the years. And he gave me an opportunity to work in his band as an extra guitar player. I mean, he had Danny Rainwater playing guitar, and I certainly couldn't play any better or even as good as Danny Rainwater, but he was trying to nurture me along, I think was his plan, as a songwriter and an artist, and get me introduced to people. And because he believed in me as well. And I had 5 other musicians on that bandstand that depended on that job. They depended on me for a paycheck. And so I had to turn it down. And like I said, it stung a little bit, but I think, and I'll never be sorry for the decision. And especially when I start seeing some of the grief that fame can cause some of these artists. Here's the thing I want people to understand about an artist. If you go up to George Strait or, any of them, I don't care who they are, and you approach them at the wrong time, you're going to go away saying they're a butthead. But if you pick your time when they're relaxed, they don't have stress on them, and you walk up to them and just kind of mention something to them, maybe getting a little conversation, you're going to go away liking that person. And you'll tell everybody, oh, what a great guy. And I hear it all the time. They say, well, so-and-so, he's just a nasty person. Well, you probably caught him when he was trying to eat with his family in a restaurant, or you probably caught him when he's standing at the urinal, or you probably caught him, when he was, they're announcing him on. I saw this happen to Mel Tillis. He was another great friend of mine in Lubbock, Texas. His band's up there. They're announcing him on stage, and there's a guy, what we use the term gurming him, just wouldn't let him go, and praising him and whatever. And Mel, thank you. But he's got to go up them stairs and put his guitar on and do his job. And the guy just won't let him go. And Mel finally just kind of shoved him little, not hard, but put his hand on him, said, I got to go to work, and the guy said, what a butt, and I thought, no, you're the wrong one.
Yeah.
Pick your time. I've heard about, George Strait like team rope, and team roper. It used to be. And I heard a story about somebody following him into the men's room at a roping and wanting an autograph. Well, he's standing there doing his business. And that's just, I mean, how stupid can you be to try that? I mean, anybody ought to have enough common sense to know that's not a good time to approach anybody about anything unless they're standing on your foot.
No, there are boundaries, right?
Yeah, for sure. But those people get tired of it, you know, and I look back on it now and I go, I wouldn't trade a darn thing. You remember David Frizzell and Shelley West?
Right.
Well, I had a 6-piece Western swing band out in Nevada for a couple of years, and we did a lot of work with David Frizzell and Shelley West. Shelley was actually married to David's youngest brother, Alan, and we were all great friends. We played a lot of the same venues back to back, their band and our band, and we just became really good friends. So David and Shelley went to California and they cut "You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma." And they came back to Reno, Nevada, where we were at, and they played it for me on they had a little cassette. Everybody had cassettes in those days. There wasn't no CDs yet. 1980. They said, we just cut this song. What do you think of it? I said, you guys got a hit there. Well, sure enough, you know, it started becoming a big record for them. And Shelley was the bass player in their band. Shelley was a good bass player. Ellen was playing lead guitar. So Ellen got a hold of me and he said, we're going to move Shelley out of the bass. I'm going to play bass. And he said, we're looking for a guitar player. We'd sure like for you to come into the band. I said, I brought 5 other people with me out here from New Mexico to Nevada. I can't abandon them. I can't run off from these people. I mean, what are they going to do? And so I turned that down, but I did turn them on to another guitar player singer that I'd met out there, and he went to work with them, and he was just perfect for them. So that was a good deal too. But I look back now and I don't regret the things that I turned down. For one thing, I don't know what would have really happened. And I'm almost thinking that the worst thing that could have happened, that I would have got real famous and started hating people. You know, I mean, I don't know how else to say it. Sometimes people can overdo their praise. You know, I mean, I appreciate it. People tell me, boy, you guys sound good. I always say it's not my fault. You know, trying to lighten the mood a little bit. I don't know how to take a compliment. I'm bad about that.
I think you've got guys like Caesar Ozuna that's got blank that would keep you from going to that place without hated people. You're really good, solid buddies. Help keep you grounded, right?
You know what? You're breaking up like on a cell phone. I didn't catch what you said.
Well, I was just talking about some of the folks. You know, I've met got a whole kind of you guys, and see, old Caesar Ozuna is one of those guys. And y'all have known each other a long time. I would imagine Caesar, if you'd have gotten famous, Caesar would have helped you stay grounded, right?
Oh, that guy is something else. You know, I met him at a team roping. We were at a roping where you pick one and draw 2. That means that you enter with one partner, and then you get 2 more partners. They draw them out of the hat for you. You don't know them. You don't know who it's going to be. And Caesar and I ended up winning. I don't remember. I don't think we won first in the average, but we won a check. And he told me, he said, there's a roping over at Gibtown. You want to go over there? And I said, sure. So we loaded our horses and we went there. Well, we won some more money. And a couple of days later, I was at the arena. Well, the arena in the barn there actually had a little studio apartment in it. And I was in there playing my guitar and finishing some songs that I'd started writing. And something darkened the door, you know, and I looked up with the light behind him. I couldn't see who it was. And he said, I play and sing. And I said, you do? He said, yeah. So sit down. And then we realized who we each were, you know, that we had roped together and had a good time. And So we just started hanging around each other, and he's like a brother. He really is. We think a lot alike. We have more fun. We ought to have an HBO television show, but and a clean one too, of course. But some of the stuff we come up with is just hilarious, and I won't even try to get into any of it. But it's just hilarious. He's an Apache Indian. Here's some of the stuff we've done. We were on our way, I don't know, somewhere, driving probably to Turkey, Texas, and somebody was burning a bunch of weeds or something like that. So I'm driving, and Caesar's, I always call him my Indian guide, sitting over there, and I said, "Smoke signals, what's that say?" He just looks up, he says, "That's just junk mail." He's that kind of guy. He just always good for a laugh. You know, he loves to have fun.
You know,
Now, he likes to go out there and dance. You know, I don't care nothing about dancing, and I never really did. I mean, I get my musical release by playing music and singing, and a lot of people that don't do that, they get their release by dancing, and I'm glad they're there. That's why I play, so the dancers can have fun. But I'm not a dancer. But he starts showing up. He likes to go to a lot of these places with me. He walks in the door and his dance card starts filling up. Them women start tracking him down. People he's never seen come up and ask him to dance.
You know,
Anyway.
Chuck, one of the first times when I first started getting to know Caesar, first time I'd really spent a lot of time around him over at the old Bell. You were playing at that time, and Caesar and I sat down, and he kind of looked at me. You know, he's got that great poker face, and he looked at me, and you were playing Earl Haggard's Silver Wings, and you know, Caesar nudged me, and he goes, "I don't like this song." I'm like, "What?" I go, "Who doesn't like Silver Wings?" And he goes, "No." He shook his head. He goes, "It's offensive to my people." I said, "What are you talking?" And he goes, listen. And then when you got to that part about roaring engines,
Roaring engines.
and he kind of cracked a little smile. He finally couldn't stand it anymore. And I said, "Well, suck it up, Buttercup." But he's so funny and a great guy.
He is. I've told this story before to people, and of course, you know, they realize I'm just having a little joke. But I told him, I said, "Yeah, me and Caesar, we rode up to a bar one time on our horses, and boy, our horses were sweaty pretty bad. It was real hot out there." And I said, I got off my horse, and I asked Caesar, I said, "You're my friend, aren't you?" And he said, "Well, sure I am." I said, "Well, you'd do about anything for me, wouldn't you?" And he said, "Sure I would, brother." I said, "Okay, just run around my horse so that wind you're creating will help dry him off. I'm going to go in and have a beer." So I said, I went in the bar, and I was sitting there having my third beer, and this guy comes in and says, "Whose horse is out there in the middle of the parking lot?" I said, "That's my horse." He said, "You left your engine running."
Oh no, we're gonna get in trouble.
And that's how the show was canceled.
Uh-oh. I wish people would grow a little bit thicker skin. You know, my family on my dad's side are full-blooded Italian. My mom, she's Irish, and I don't know, maybe some Dutch or something. And I grew up in a household that was definitely not prejudiced about any skin color or any ethnicity, whatever that word is. It didn't matter where you came from, what you looked like, how you dressed. What mattered, what was in your heart. And I learned that at a very early age, and I'm still that way. And it just kind of saddens me now that you got to be so careful what you say, or you're going to offend somebody.
Yeah, I realized late in life that not only was I of German and Irish descent, I had some Polish in, so I had to tell in Polish jokes. However, anyway, I see here where Connie Hawk chimed in, and I don't know, I can't see the other people coming in. Connie is a kind of our adult supervision. He's you do a lot of live events. One of the most hardest working guys out there as far as live music is concerned. And Brent, I don't know, stepping on you, I wanted to Chuck to talk a little bit about some of the stuff he does on a regular basis, kind of give his R&R deal out in Springtown a plug.
Are you talking about the R&R Event Center?
Yes.
It's a great venue. It's a beautiful building. It's beautiful inside there. I tell people that, and then when they finally show up, they come and tell me it's beautiful. I already told you that. But you mentioned Connie Hawk. I'll go back to that real quick if you don't mind. She is, I call her a den mother. She just takes care of Chuck Cusimano and Country Enough. She takes care of C.W. Sturgeon. She takes care of Neon Playboys. She is a godsend. She's a very hardworking lady, and she enjoys helping people. She runs my merchandise table and for the Neon Playboys as well. And okay, the R&R Event Center, the people that run that are wonderful people. It's a great accident that I found out about that place. And I guess that's one of the good things that came from COVID is finding that building and those people. I encourage everybody listening out there, if you like live country music that you can dance to and a lot of good people with good hearts, even though if you want to, it's BYOB. So if you want to bring your wine coolers or 6-pack of beer or whatever, that's fine. There's no cooler charge there. I encourage you to come out on Tuesday nights. We start at 7. It's you'll have a lot of fun. You're going to meet some people. People will walk across dance floor to new people that come in, introduce himself, and encourage them to participate with all the patrons there. It's a lot of fun. That's one of my favorite times of the whole week is getting to play there.
Do we have an address for that place? R&R Center, and that's in Springtown.
It is. It's between Springtown and Azle, but the address, if you look it up, is 3605 East Highway 199, Springtown. But it's just about as close to Azle as it is Springtown.
Yeah.
But it's right on the corner of 199, which is Jacksboro Highway, and right on the corner of that and Jaybird Lane, right on the northeast corner of that intersection. And beautiful place, and it's $15 a person cover charge, and a lot of people may think that's high, but you stop and think that if you do like to have a beer when you go out and you bring it with you, you paid liquor store prices for the beer and you pay a cover charge, you're done. And I'm not putting anything against some of the beer joints and nightclubs and dance halls that I play, but they make their money off the liquor more than they do the door. So to keep the doors open, we have to get the cover charge up there where we can afford to do that. And but a person can pay a lower cover charge and go into a dance hall where the club makes their money off the liquor, and they say, okay, I'm just going to spend this much money, but they run into their buddy and their buddy buys them one, so they got to buy their buddy one, and then they sit with some other people that buys around. Then it's going to be their turn to buy around, and you're going to walk out of there, spend a couple $100 before you know it if you're not careful. I mean, I don't drink, so it's not me doing that, but I'm a good watcher. I learn from watching people, and I've seen it happen. And I'm not trying to say anything against the clubs, because I love playing there. I play the Stagecoach every Sunday. I have going on 19 years. I've been the lead guitar player in the Coachman, which plays on Sunday afternoons. I've missed very few Sundays. And then I play guitar. Lately, I've been playing guitar for Shane Vandiver, who's a great country singer himself. And we play the Longhorn Saloon down in Northside, down Stockyards. And just great people come in there. If you're out there, folks, thinking that you're going to change the kind of person you are for walking into a beer joint or a honky tonk or a dance hall or a nightclub, whatever you want to call it, you're wrong. You're still going to be the same person. It's up to you how you act. If you're a knothead in the beer joint, you're a knothead in the hardware store. So, I mean, I'm just saying the truth. I'll probably get a lot of hate mail for my opinion, but I stand behind my opinion.
Well, I'm proud to also say that you and I are sharing the bill on Thursday, November 9th. The way it's
Yes.
at the birthplace of West Wing Festival, and that's over at the National Hall, and that's a big event. I think the tickets went on sale for that a week or so ago, and they're almost already sold out. So that's going to be a fun event. Can't wait to share the day's festivity with you. We're going to have our band out there, the A-list band, going to be there in all your glory. Those probably swap stage time and have a lot of fun. We
Absolutely.
may even play that new song you and I are writing.
I hope we get it finished by then. We just got a little buttoning up to do to get it. You've got some great lines in that song. It would be as long as El Paso if we used all the lines. We're going to have to do a little trimming, but we won't give away what it's about because we'll let that be a surprise. But I think it's going to be a fun song and a good song. I'm looking forward to finishing that one up.
I'm honored to do it with you.
Well, you and I were talking on the phone, and I had that idea for a song, and I thought Steve and we kind of got the same personality, the same sense of humor. And I said, this is a guy that I think it would be fun to write this song with.
Yeah,
we'll probably come up with a few more.
Yeah, it's one of those songs.
I'm doing a lot more co-writing now than I used to. I used to would refuse to co-write with anybody because I felt like I didn't need to. I can write a song in 10 minutes and it's done. So without a little tweaking here and there, but once the bug bites you, it just falls out of your pencil.
Well, Kurt Ryle, another guy that we talk about a lot. He's part of my partner in Clarksville Creative Sound. Very prolific musician, songwriter, performer. Kurt talked about the time he played on one of your songs. I think it's I don't know when the song came out, but I know y'all recorded it at Pantique Sound, which is it Jerry Abbott? Is that his name? Jerry?
Yes.
Yes,
Jerry Abbott. Abalone Studio.
Yeah, and
I believe it was.
Kurt was telling me this morning, we were talking, he says, "Mind Chuck about the time I came in and recorded with him, and the time we sat down, we decided we were going to write a song, and we sat there with each other after a while and said, well, nothing's coming."
We drank a lot of good coffee. I had an idea for a song, and I called him up, and I said, I have an idea for a song. He said, get over here. He told me how to get to his place, and I drove over there. Gosh, that's been almost 40 years ago, I guess, at least 35, 36 years ago. And I was living in Azle at the time, and I drove to his house, and he had the coffee on, and we sat there with our guitars, and it was like putting two people behind a steering wheel and trying to go two different directions. We just never could get that thing launched off the ground. But
well, you two are two of the most prolific and best songwriters I know. So maybe there just wasn't room for two geniuses at the same time. Who knows?
We did write a song together.
Okay.
But it was probably 3 or 4 years ago. And I did it not as a joke, but it just came on me. I was on Facebook, and of course, me and Kurt are Facebook friends and friends anyway. But we were on Facebook, and I just typed in the first verse. I mean, it came to me, and I just sat there on my fat fingers, and did the text thing on Facebook. I said, here's the first verse of a song. Go ahead and finish it. Well, I mean, just in 5 minutes or so, he had the chorus started, I think, or the second verse or something. And we tweaked back and forth on that thing on Facebook. And we wrote that song. And he did tell me that somebody had recorded it, and he sent me I think he sent me a copy of his demo of it, and it's a good song. I just can't wait for somebody that really picked that thing up. I think he was talking to a gentleman by the name of Kevin Pullen for a while about maybe doing that song, but I'm not. I don't want to say that it happened. I'm not sure.
Kevin,
I think the world of Kurt. You talk about a talent and an ear for music and an ear for that studio. This guy is magic. He is really good and is such a good person.
He is totally unaffected by all the things that accomplished and done, and that's why
Exactly.
you two remind me of y'all remind me of each other in that regard. That you guys, no matter what you've done, no matter how high you've climbed, you kept your feet on the ground, which I admire, and it's not easy to do in this business. But Brent, I see that we're running kind of long here. Feel free to come back in anytime.
I'm just having a blast listening to it. I guess one of the things I'm curious about is, you talk about the co-writes and some of the stuff you've got going on. What else do you have on the horizon for the rest of this year?
As far as playing live or writing or
all the above?
Oh, just whatever happens. My band, my 6-piece band, Chuck Cusimano and Country and Up, we're booked in Canton in October. We're booked at the Cowboy Gathering in San Angelo, Texas in September. And of course, we've got the Michael Marquardt big show that's going to be at National Hall, the birthplace of Western Swing. We're really proud to be on that venue this year. Like I said, I'm taking my band into Raton, New Mexico on July 29th. And then the next day I'm playing a private party over in Colorado. And so we're going to have fun on that trip, I'm pretty sure. Still playing the Stagecoach on Sundays, encouraging people to come out. We start at 4 p.m. there, playing it every Tuesday at the R&R Event Center on Jacksboro Highway and Jaybird Lane. We start at 7 p.m. there, and I play guitar for Shane Vandiver. We got some dates coming up. I can't name them all off the top of my head right now, but I'm pretty sure April 21st is a Friday, and we're at the Longhorn down in Stockyards. And if somebody else calls me and needs me to put a band together, the 1st of July. Yes, we just got this one. The first day of July is a Saturday. It's the day before my 75th birthday, by the way. We will be playing in Gordon, Texas for their 4th of July celebration. This will be our 3rd year to do that. Chuck Cusimano and Country Enough will be doing that show or that venue. And so anybody living in the Gordon or that area, Mangus, or anywhere out in that part of the country, or even Fort Worth, you want to drive that far, we'll be playing there. So come on out and enjoy. And anytime you can catch us, come on.
So in other words, you're not wanting for things to do these days.
Well, and I don't write as much, but I don't turn down the opportunity when a good idea hits me. I don't know if I can see this, and I don't know if I can do this if this is legal.
I can't wait to see what comes next now, Steve.
Yeah, I'm kind of.
I was going to give you an insight to one I just wrote recently, and but I can't. If I turn the light on where I can see that, then it's just too bright over here. But I'm working off of a telephone, folks. My computer went on the kaput side quite a while back, and I'm scared to death of Windows 10. I'm still got Windows 7, and and so I haven't made the move to try to catch up with technology. I do have Wi-Fi. I got a flat screen TV.
That's really all you need.
Electric coffee pot.
Steve,
Well, I tell you what, anybody who wants to keep tabs, make sure you go to chuckcusimano.com and also follow him on Facebook. There's
Yes.
a lot of great stuff on YouTube. You could spend hours going down the rabbit trail and listening not only his great original works, but also some of the covers that he does. So make sure you go out and do all that. And Chuck, thanks so much for taking the time to join us here. And I hope you come back again so we can go a little deeper on some of this stuff. We only scratched the surface today.
This was a blast. Gentlemen, I really appreciate the honor and pleasure of being here with you today. My first time to do something like this, and it's kind of a unique experience. If we do it again, I'll be better at it, I hope.
Well,
We're hoping the same for us.
the honor is all ours. You know, the whole reason we put this show out is to inform people that may or may not know, folks like you that are in the Fort Worth community. Of course, this show goes way beyond the borders of Fort Worth and borders of Texas and the United States. We've got people that tune in from Ireland and Australia, I believe. But anyway, there's so much rich music culture and history right here in this Fort Worth area. And of course, the Texas music scene, as Mary Minner always says, Texas is a brand in and of itself. And so we just want to get out there and let as many people as possible know what musical gems are out there. And you're certainly one of them, a guy that never fails to disappoint as far as entertainment and great music, live music, the stuff you put out, recorded music, songs that you've written. We're just, I'm honored to call you my friend.
Same here, Steve. And it's really nice to meet Brent Adams. Hope we get to shake hands someday.
Well, yeah, that would be excellent. I'm looking forward to that day.
Well, you know where you can find me. I done told you.
Brent will be here in Fort Worth. We're doing a lot of things together, trying to build the media network, and so Brent and I are working closer and closer together. And Brent, of course, works closely with Kurt Ryle. They're going to be working on these road story episodes that Kurt we're finding is becoming wildly popular. So we're going to be taking that and putting it out through our media network, and we're working with at CMA in Texas to help build this network out, because as you pointed out earlier, it's so hard to make money as an independent artist, on streams and the way the music is sold today, the pennies just trickle in. So what we're wanting to do, what we're planning on doing, and what we're doing is building this network to get our music from folks like you and I and so many other really good independent artists, get it out to as many people as possible to maximize the exposure and to show these independent artists that if you're willing to work at it, you can make a living doing this. You may not become a gazillionaire, but you can make a good living doing this, and a lot of it involves live performances as well. And so we're trying to get the word out to as many people as possible so that it'll drive them to not only buying music, supporting them on these live music gigs.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I got to share a little piece of Chuck that I keep with me on my
all right
on my desk here, right in front of the console. If anybody can see that, that's the official Chuck Cusimano Country Enough guitar pick. So I keep that with me all time. So we got a little piece of Chuck here in the studio.
Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. We got these pens too. I'm never without a pen. I've got these pens. Next time you're around, I'll give you one of these.
Excellent. I'm always in the market for a good pen, so we'll definitely check that out. And again, thank you so much, Chuck, for taking the time to join us. And Steve, another great program here, despite the technical gremlins here. What do you guys got going on here with Clarksville Creative Sound?
Well, like I said, Kurt's, I think, got Kerry Romero in the studio. I talked to him this morning. We didn't get a chance to talk very long because I was getting ready to get on this show. But Kerry is recording stuff that I believe she and Kurt have been writing song. Kurt is a songwriting machine lately.
Right.
I just can't. It's hard to imagine that creative, well runs really deep, and we pray that it never stops flowing. And so I know he and Carrie are very excited about what they're putting together and recording there. And I'll be heading up there on the 23rd. I'll be up there until the 29th. We've already written some songs, and we're going to get those things recorded, and we're going to be working on things, like I said earlier, on the business side, furthering this Clarksville Creative Sound brand, this media network that, of course, you were in the middle of, Brent, working with you and Real Strong. And so there's just we've got exciting stuff going on with the Peer Media Group, which they add a nice bundle of radio stations and TV stations that are going to be taking our content and putting it out there. And so that's, we're working with Mary Minner on CMA Texas as well to further that cause. So just a lot of things going on. Working on this National Hall thing at my home base, and have my band, other folks like Chuck Cusimano and Robert Houston out of Arkansas, and folks like that come in and play. We'll have Clarksville Creative Sound artists come in and perform, as well as CMA of Texas artists. So that's going to be, I think, a venue that's going to be a lot of fun as we get that thing launched. And we're real close to hopefully finalizing all of that. Our thing is helping them get a really good sound system put in there. That's an old 100-year-old building, and so we're working with them to get a really good sound system where you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you come in there. So we're helping them with that. We're real excited about that. So I'm real excited about this Road Stories thing. Brent, can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, you led me right into it. That's next on my list here. You mentioned that a little bit earlier. Road Stories with Kurt Ryle is going to show up this Monday, and every Monday, 7 p.m. Central. And that's going to be on the Kurt Ryle Writers Workshop page. We'll also have that in a few other areas. So stay plugged in there and listen to those. He did a great one last week with Lori Lace, and he really unpacks. I mean, the guy has got a wealth of stories here from his time in the music business. And this week he talks a bit about his time working with Vern Gosdin. So he's got some hilarious stories there. I can't wait for you guys to hear that again. Monday, 7 p.m. Central. If you're not already part of Kurt Ryle's Writers Workshop page, get plugged in there, and also be on the lookout here. We may get it on this Fort Worth Musical Moments page and a couple other pages here, so we can get it out to as many folks as possible.
And I believe, Brent, Kurt and I were talking this morning, and I believe he was working with Edward Williams to actually set up a designated
oh, nice. Good deal.
Kurt Ryle Road Stories Facebook page to kind of keep that separate, but it'll feed through all those other pages that you mentioned.
So make sure you check all those out here and hang out with us on Monday nights and get some more. If you like what we did here today, talking with Chuck Cusimano, we get behind the scenes with Kurt Ryle and just try to pull out some of those stories about how all this music came together. And I want to put something else on your radar. We're going to do a Rural Strong live program on the Rural Strong Media Facebook page. And we'll try to blast that out to this page as well. Next Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, John Barry, the country music legend, is going to join me. He has 3 concerts coming up in April in Texas. And if you're in any of those areas, I'd love for you to go check it out. April 5th, he's going to be at the Cactus Theater in Lubbock. April 6th at Arlington Music Hall in Arlington. Also, April 7th at Do-Si-Do, the big barn in the Woodlands. And Mary Minter, I know you're watching. I hope you're going to be front and center at that one. JohnBarry.com is where you can go for tickets for that. You'll hear more about that on Rural Strong Live this Friday. John's manager, Brian Smith, reached out to me the other day asking if we could have some help in promoting those dates here. And always glad, John and his sweet wife, Robin, and Brian, and his publicist, Bev Moser, they're all like extended family to me. So anytime they make the call, we're definitely glad to oblige. I've got the John Barry mug with me here today. So we're drinking out of that, and just salt of the earth folks here, and just some legendary country music. So join us again Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central on the Rural Strong Live Facebook page for the a conversation with John Barry. And I hope everybody will get plugged into this Fort Worth Musical Moments Facebook group if you're not already a member of that, if you're watching it somewhere else. Also, the Clarksville Creative Sound Facebook group and the Rural Strong Media Facebook page. We've got, as Steve just mentioned here, a lot going on here. We're trying to tie together here, and you're going to want to be a part of that. Also, invite you to check out Rural Strong Radio, which is our 24/7 streaming radio station, found at ruralstrongmedia.com. Also, the Live 365 streaming radio app. It's an official CMA of Texas partner, and we're playing the best in traditional country music, Western swing, bluegrass, a little Southern rock, and inspirational. We've got your Chuck Cusimanos on there. We've got your Steve Marquardts on there, and so much more, all the way back to Jimmy Rogers and all the way up to Cody Johnson. So it's a musical history there. So again, ruralstrongmedia.com or the Live 365 streaming radio app. Also, a couple things to mention there. A couple Sunday programs. Sunday's Kind of Country with Robbie Lynn, 3 hours of great inspirational music. And 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central, Billy Bowles Swinging Country, the replay emanating from the studios of KSSL in Lubbock, Texas. And I know Billy's watching here today. We love having him here on Rural Strong Radio. So check all that out on Sundays. And again, I hope you'll join us here. Steve, we got another one coming up this coming Friday. Hello, Steve, you there?
I'm sorry, Brett.
Friday.
You
next
cut
Friday.
out on me a little bit.
Next Friday.
Yes, I don't have a guest lined up yet, but we'll figure that out. But yeah, we're looking forward to that. One other thing I want to mention too, be sure to check out, especially if you're in the Fort Worth area, be sure, if you haven't already, check out Fort Worth Memories, which is Larry O'Neill's Facebook page. That he's the guy that got us started on this Fort Worth musical moment. So be sure to check that out. A lot of great information on there about the goings on in Fort Worth, both culturally, politically, and all. Larry's got his finger on the pulse of just about everything.
Absolutely. And I saw he's on here today. So a big thank you to Larry O'Neill. We appreciate his encouragement and involvement in all this. It means the world to us. And I tell you what, if you missed any of this program today, it automatically archives on all these Facebook pages. And then you can go ahead and fast forward through about the first 5 minutes of our follies and then get on to actually listening to the conversation here. But again, Chuck, thank you so much for taking the time to join us, and we look forward to connecting with you down the road.
It was my pleasure. Thank you, gentlemen. Hope you have a great day.
Thank you, Chuck. Appreciate it. As always, we'll see you out there at the R&R and over at the Stagecoach on Sunday night. What a great dance hall that is. Great venue. So look forward to that. And we sure appreciate you, my friend.
Well, thank you so much. I forgot to mention that this coming weekend, the 23rd, 24th, and 25th, we'll be up in Wichita Falls at the Elks Lodge for the Western Swing Music Society of the Southwest Showcase. And it's open to the public. You have to pay a little bit to get in there, but it's well worth it. There's a lot of good music. So you need to come up there and visit with us too.
There you go. Lots of opportunities to wear out those dancing shoes. One other thing I mentioned, we had Ernest Dale Tubb on the show a couple of weeks ago, and we touched on the project or the potential of reviving the discussion of the Ernest Tubb down in Fort Worth, somewhere in Fort Worth. Of course, the most suitable place would be the Stockyards area. So anybody that wants to help us get behind that, give us your feedback. Let's mount a kind of a concerted effort to get that discussion really loud and strong, so we can get that done eventually. Because I think it's definitely very timely that we get something to honor Ernest Tubb, since he got his start here in Fort Worth. We wouldn't have a statue of him down in the Stockyards or somewhere in Fort Worth.
Absolutely. I know that's a project near and dear to my heart. So yeah, give us your feedback on that, and we're going to get to work on that and make that happen. Well, I tell you what, for Chuck Cusimano and Steve Marquardt, it's Brent Adams here. We hope you come back again next Friday, 10 a.m. Central, for another episode, if I can speak, of Fort Worth Musical Moments. Until then, keep riding tall in the saddle and make it a great week, everybody.
Thank
You've been
you.
watching Fort Worth Musical Moments, a production of Rural Strong Media and Clarksville Creative Sound, copyright 2023. Please join the Fort Worth Musical Moments Facebook group and join us each Friday at 10 a.m. Central as we introduce you to another key figure in Fort Worth's musical heritage.